Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Ramani, and welcome back to this YouTube channel that takes on all kinds of issues related to narcissism and understanding narcissistic relationships and toxic situations in general, with the hope that knowledge will set you free. So, I'm going to be talking about a way to manage these relationships. And again, just as a little, reminder, for those of you interested in doing much deeper healing work from your narcissistic relationships, I do have a deeper dive healing program. If you go to the notes section of this video, the video notes, you'll be able to find a link for that program. And if you're new to this channel, please do subscribe, because I'm always talking about whatever is the latest, the greatest, or the most frightening in the world of narcissism. So today, though, I'm going to talk about something actually that has some relevance to sort of healing and managing these situations. And that's the issue of low contact. So lots of people are talking about low contact online. What I want to do in this video is, because so many people are talking about it here on a channel about narcissism, I want to talk about the pros and cons. It's not a bad strategy at all, but it's not an answer, a complete 100% foolproof answer in every narcissistically abusive situation. So first, let's get our terms straight. Let's start with talking about no contact. No contact is just what it sounds like. It's scorched earth. You don't take the calls, you block them, you don't show up. It's like you are dead to the person and they are dead to you. Done. Now, no contact to me, though, is a pretty rarefied strategy. Not everyone has access to being able to do no contact. It wouldn't work, for example, if you're co-parenting minor children. It doesn't really work in all workplaces. It doesn't always work in family systems if you want access to some family members and want to go no contact with others, or have children who are invested in cousins or grandparents. Now, when you're able to do no contact, frankly, it works like a charm. You cut out the exposure to the toxic person or situation, and obviously the vast majority of people feel better. Some people go no contact and really hold to it, but then life happens, an illness, a death, and then they're pulled back in. And they will liken being pulled back into drinking poison, getting pulled back into a system that they bravely went no contact from. And as soon as they're back into it, they literally feel sick right away. Now, there are also techniques like gray rocking. That's that dull, emotionless, inert sort of responding to a narcissistic person in hopes that maybe they'll get bored, because you aren't taking the bait. You're not even showing them any emotion. They get bored and move on. Then there's firewalling, a technique where you are very careful to not let any sensitive information out. You kind of just stick to talking about the weather. You also learn to not personalize what they do and say, so you don't take in their nonsense and make it your own. It means keeping your distance and really disengaging and interacting as little as possible. But when you interact, you don't have to be as flat as gray rock. You can sort of have normal emotional range. You just can't share anything about yourself. It's kind of saying, hey, looks like it's going to rain tomorrow. Then there's yellow rocking, where you still keep it tight. You don't take the bait, but you do allow yourself emotional range. This is often recommended to co-parents in these kinds of situations. And then that way your children aren't thrown off by sort of the flatness of gray rocking, which can be sort of unsettling for a child who's trying to negotiate this territory. But all of this gray rocking, firewalling, and yellow rocking, all of it fall under the rubric of low contact. Low contact is realistic. It may mean, for example, you show up for one family dinner a year, or only see the ex at the children's soccer games. But low contact also means that you really do practice the deep technique. You don't engage, nor do you defend or explain or personalize. Like I said, you stick to the weather, neutral topics like, oh, look, they opened a new coffee shop in town. There is just no there when you talk under low contact situations. Low contact means that you get out before the emotions start to flare. And when you sense the baiting starting and coming out, you gracefully find the exits. Low contact is not as easy peasy as it sounds. There are often enabler pressures floating around you. Oh, come on now, your brother isn't that bad, and your mom made lasagna. Come on over for dinner. Or Your cousin's visiting from another country. You have to come. Or family members pressuring you to do more things with the ex so the children have a sense of family, or a group of friends saying, oh, come on now, she isn't that bad. Come on our wine tasting weekend. It'll be okay. Or a group of colleagues sort of cajoling you to go to the workplace happy hour. Low contact means holding your ground even when those pressures show up. It means not taking the bait during your encounters. It means not getting lulled into a hoovery space. Low contact is often an interesting form of diplomacy that allows family systems to keep running at some level, workplaces to keep working, children maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable in sort of divorce situations, friend groups may be functional. It's not meant to be enabling, nor is it meant to be denial. You are aware of what you're doing and protective of yourself, but not fully cutting away because you feel like you can't do that. Now you have to pace your low contact. It doesn't mean the same amount of contact for everyone. One person's low contact is one person's high contact. For some people, it might mean contact once a week. For others, it may mean once a year. It really depends on the nature of the relationship and the context of that relationship. But low contact is an intentional process. It means you do it in settings and contexts that are comfortable to you, where escape is readily available at times when you feel you have the bandwidth to manage it, or when you feel supported. For example, I've seen several parents of adult children where there is one parent who is a narcissist having to do this at weddings or christenings, things for their adult children. At that point, their children are adults. You're no longer juggling all the D and all this other stuff and all those other logistics. So there's really no more reason for any contact with that narcissistic ex. But then a wedding or that kind of intense social event brings you together with your ex. And low contact might mean, for example, at that wedding, having lots of support around you as a co-parent in this situation, and having the people around you who know that they can run and should run interference so you can minimize your contact with the other parent and allow your child to have a wonderful wedding day, and for you to be fully present without having to dodge getting cornered or gaslighted by the narcissistic ex. That's an example of how that intentionality of low contact works. Low contact is a form of something that I've long called soul distancing. Your mind and body can be in the interaction, but you keep your soul out of it. You can have the superficial conversations about the wedding and maintain a boundary. You can get out when you start feeling, when you can get out of the interaction, step away. When you start feeling more and more uncomfortable, you can be like, oh, sorry, got to go to the bathroom. So low contact is an umbrella term that takes in a lot of territory, but it's a realistic approach to the many narcissistic relationships that we have in our lives and that we don't have the luxury of fully cutting and running from. So anyone who's listened this far, I'd love to hear from you. Have any of you tried low contact? Has it worked? What has worked and what hasn't worked? Because some people have said, like, I've done low contact, but some things worked better than others. People might find themselves getting sucked into texting too much or any of those things. So let us know what your low contact strategies are and what has worked. And like I said, in some ways, it's all relative. One person's low contact is one person's way too much. So be aware that there's something relative about it. But for you, it's definitely going to mark a departure from regular contact. And if it's somebody, for example, you have to, I don't know, see some with some regularity, for example, at work, it's a great example is you don't go to the happy hour, you really keep to yourself. So give it a shot. But I think it is a very useful technique in narcissistic relationships. Thanks again.